Let's talk about occupational hazards in reference to occupational health. So, occupational hazards can be of many types, some of which are listed in front of on your screens. So, occupational hazards may be of physical variety, or there may be biological hazards, or chemical ones, or psychosocial hazards, or mechanical ones. So, we will discuss these in detail. So, occupational hazards that a man or a woman is uh, prone to or is susceptible to come across in his or her work conditions are of many varieties. As we have said earlier, these varieties are physical hazards, chemical ones, biological hazards, mechanical hazards, and psychosocial hazards. The physical hazards include heat and cold, light, noise, vibrations, ultraviolet light, ionizing radiations, among many of them. These are some of the examples. Then chemical hazards may be local action, those chemicals that act locally, or these may be the chemicals that are inhaled through respiration, or these may be the chemicals that are ingested into the body. Biological hazards, we will see later on. There are many examples of biological hazards. These may be microorganisms of bacterial or viral variety as well. There are certain mechanical hazards, for example, uh, the conditions, the working conditions at a certain job may not be mechanically appropriate for the worker. For example, his or her chair or desk may not be mechanically appropriate. So these are more related to the ergonomics, the concept of ergonomics that we have discussed earlier. Then lastly, there are psychosocial hazards. There are certain psychological and behavioral changes that may develop in a certain occupation, and there are also some psychosomatic illnesses involved. In addition, there may be certain radiation hazards involved in certain occupations. For example, radium and other radioactive materials are used in manufacturing of watches and in certain paints as well. Then there are X-rays, ultraviolet rays, infrared rays, lasers, and these are used in many of the occupations, the modern industrial societies. In many of the occupations, these things are used, and these are sources of radiation, and these can result in burns, in dermatitis, in blood dyscrasias, in malignancies, in genetic defects. So these are some of the radiation hazards and the problems that they may give rise to. Then there are certain hazards which are encountered by the agricultural workers, or the workers who work in fields in an agricultural society. We know that our country is mostly an agricultural economy, and it is one of the main occupations in our part of the world. So some of the hazards faced by agricultural workers, these include zoonotic diseases, and examples of these zoonotic diseases are brucellosis, anthrax, leptospirosis, tetanus, etc. There may be certain accidents that may happen in agricultural workers due to machinery or due to insect bites or snake bites. There are certain toxic hazards involved in agricultural industry, and these are fertilizers or use of insecticides and pesticides. Certain physical hazards, we know that temperatures are extreme in our part of the world. Uh, so temperature or heat and cold is one of the hazards. Then solar radiation is another one of the physical hazards that is involved in agricultural workers. Certain respiratory diseases are common in agricultural workers, and these are piscinosis, bagasosis, farmer's lung, and occupational asthma. Industries, on the other hand, also have their own set of factors and hazards that may result in injuries in occupations that are involved in industries, and we have talked about some of them earlier. These may be physical or physiological or psychological, as well as environmental factors. So, in physiological factors, sex, age, time, experience, working hours, these are all involved. These are the factors that influence the health of workers in certain occupations in an industrial society. Similarly, psychological factors that may be involved in occupational diseases or occupational accidents, these include carelessness, overconfidence, stress, etc. And environmental factors as well: temperature, light, humidity, noise, etc.